It's Bill Krackomberger and Rosalie Michaels on the Kracks Sports Betting Podcast by WSN.com.
Hey everyone, welcome to Kracks. This is episode 8. I'm Rosalie Michaels and I'm here with my good buddy. You know him as the Krack man, Bill Krackomberger. How's it going this week for you, Krack?
Good, everything good. We're back in business a little bit. We got some baseball and of course now we have NBA this weekend. So looking forward to it. Yeah, doing good.
Yeah, it's baseball. It's been a little sketch so far, but it's still rolling so far, right?
Yep. No, it's a little bit scary with what happened with the Marlins, but hopefully they have this contained and they'll learn from this. Hopefully, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's the big hope, that with these earlier sports that are coming in, that they do learn from those things and can adjust and make it so that sports can move forward. So, but speaking of sports moving forward, we've got a lot on tap today, as usual. I've been looking forward to today because it means even more sports are coming back. As we just said, NBA starts back up tomorrow, and in honor of this joyous occasion, we're talking NBA. So how much do you focus on the NBA in your own betting, Krack?
Well, I mean, the last few years, the NBA has been literally my bread and butter. NBA and golf, unbelievably, because usually it's collegiate sports. But so yeah, a big portion of my income and my guys who follow me comes from the NBA. Absolutely.
Wow. So good. So there'll be some good stuff on tap during our strategy session today, which is coming up in just a few minutes. But then after strategy session, we've got a great conversation. You got to talk earlier with your buddy, Jeff Benson. He's the sportsbook manager at Circa in Las Vegas, right? And so looking forward to hearing about that. And then we wrap things up as usual with Krack's Pick of the Week and my favorite segment, the Twitter questions from our viewers. But you ready to get into the meat and potatoes here, Krack?
Yes. And, before I do, though, I will tell you, Circa is the best sports book in this town. They are the new guy on the block. They're looking to make a name for themselves. They've literally, they just want to be the place to go to bet sports. And I'll tell you, they're building a brand new property downtown. It's going to be open in October and then finished in December. But they're opening, I think the first 6 floors in October, something like that. But however, this is the book of books. The plans I've seen, the artist renderings, I am really pumped up for that. So it'll be a great interview and a great place to be.
Gonna be beautiful, huh? And so downtown, that's in a different space than most of the other sports books are, right?
Yes, downtown is where the Golden Nugget is, Fremont Street Experience.
The old school.
It's old school. It's the original Las Vegas. Like I said, Fremont Street Experience. They have some of the older school casinos there. The Golden Gate, which was the first hotel in this town. It's really the last of the Mohicans down there. They really are trying to rebrand themselves, and with the Circa, I'm sure they're going to.
Nice. So interested. Looking forward to hearing what he has to say and all about that new sports book. All right, but let's get into what everybody tunes in for, which is our strategy discussion, because this is how you make your money. And Krack, another major sport starting up again, which means we've got a lot more betting options this week than we did last week, right? I mean, that opens things up a little bit more.
Oh yeah. No, NBA is definitely gives you some other options. And listen, the more things that are out there, the more things that are available to bet, the better it is for a sports bettor, especially an originator like us, someone that originates games. Because let's just face it, if you're a bookmaker and you have like 10 games to look at a day or 4 games to look at, some of these things before baseball started was literally nothing.
Yeah.
They can have a better grasp on it than us, of course. However, when you throw in the NBA in the mix now every day, daily, like baseball, not the easiest to grasp. So we'll see what happens.
So, Krack, this is a little bit different with the NBA coming back because they actually started their season, right? Played about 65% of it, and now they're picking up where they left off. So is this kind of like starting a whole new season? Did the players keep up with their training during this break, or did they slack? Is this a good opportunity to earn some money if you know which teams or which players actually took the off time to get better instead of slacking?
Well, normally during a season, as the season goes on to the playoffs, I actually bet less. This is going to be a unique situation here where there's opportunities for guys like me out there because of what really is unknown. So this is almost like a new little season starting up for me. So I am looking forward to jump right in and start betting.
Okay, so that's interesting. So normally you bet less as the season progresses when it comes to NBA, but now it's like you've had two little mini seasons, so it's more opportunity for you to bet. I love that.
Oh yeah, sure. And by the way, it's any sport. Normally, you bet less as the season goes on.
Okay.
As I said before, the unknown in the beginning of a season is at almost equally competitive levels for the sportsbook and the sportsbook player, like myself, the gambler myself. So.
Got it. So that makes total sense, because as the season goes on, you can kind of predict a little bit more what's going to happen based on the teams and how they've been playing. But the sports books have that advantage as well, right? And they
do. But because of the normal square public, though, because of what the last game did, especially like in NFL, your sport, especially the NFL, people want to watch that game that weekend. Everyone wants the game. It's the number one most popular sport there is. And then based on the results of that game, the next game will have a spread on it. They come up with the spreads that night, the same night as the Sunday night. They start putting the lines out, even though the game's just concluded that afternoon. So, the sportsbook managers are putting up the lines based on what they think the public is going to bet off of the games that just completed. So
off of the results.
It's
Got
interesting.
it. Yep. Yeah, love it. Okay, so great opportunity for people who want to get into NBA here, because it's like starting a whole new season. Okay, so last week we were talking about MLB betting, and you were all about betting over unders on totals compared to betting the sides or the props. I get the feeling that you might have the same approach when it comes to basketball. Am I right?
Yes, you're right. 95% of my betting in the NBA is on totals. Listen, the sides, very, very rare. I do put them out once in a while. They're very rare. Very hard to beat. They're very hard to beat NBA sides. NFL, by the way, NFL sides, what that means is picking a side, either team, and then NBA sides is second. NBA is the first. I'm sorry, NFL is the hardest to beat, and NBA is the second hardest to beat. So, the sides are very hard to beat. However, we do occasionally put them up there. Like I said, there is some value. The data says there is some value in some of like the money line dogs over the years, but I really don't get involved too much with, like I said, with these sides. The playoffs, I will sprinkle in a few money line plays, but still, it's 95% of totals, really. I mean, last year, just at Krack Wins, we had a record of 259 and 183, which is 62%. I mean, that's one of my best seasons ever in any sport. I can't tell you how hard it is to hit 62%. Even this year, we came right out of the gate, 149 and 104, that's our record, 149 wins and 104 losses, hitting 59% before the shutdown. So yes, totals, that's what I'm ready to do. This particular year too, you got to be a little more careful with these first 8 games, as some of the teams will quickly be locked into like playoff positions. So later games might be played a little bit more like exhibitions. That's why you really got to pay attention to this, because it's not going to be a normal season. So
okay, so again, I'm hearing bet these early games. You're going to have a little bit more a little bit more of an advantage than in those later games in the season, right?
Yes, I think even this season, though, I think because it's only 8 short games and then we're doing playoffs, I think we're going to have a good grasp on this. I'm looking forward to this.
Well, and I noticed that the most striking thing about the NBA compared to every other sport is the sheer amount of scoring, right? Because in other sports, the NFL, you might get some high scores, but nothing is as high as the NBA scoring. So you've talked about key numbers when it comes to betting the the sides, right?
Right.
What numbers are we looking for in the NBA?
Well, let me tell you, like I said, I only bet a little bit of sides, but there are some key numbers on NBA, though. Believe it or not, because of the fouling at the end. Not as much as college basketball, but there are some key numbers in NBA, too. Believe it or not, there's some stats on this that are unbelievable. Like, why isn't the 4 one of the numbers? The stats are like 3, 5, 7. These are the numbers that will show up a lot in the NBA. So you want to make sure if you're betting on one of those dogs, you make sure instead of taking 6.5, you want to take 7. Instead of taking 4.5, you want to take 5. However, on the totals, there's really no key numbers on totals. You never want to buy, by the way, you never want to buy any totals in any sport, but especially NBA. You never want to buy. It's a total sucker bet. But going back to what you said, the back and forth scoring, the pace of play, this is the biggest statistic used when coming up with an NBA total. And it's the possessions per game. So the pace, for example, New Orleans Pelicans were the fastest paced team this season, averaging 108 possessions, a little more, 108.3 to be exact. I hate being so nitty though, but 108.3 possessions in a game. On the other side of that, like the Charlotte Hornets, they're the slowest paced team. They averaged, just over 99 possessions per game. So these numbers, especially in certain situations, are crucial to know. Also, just to go into some stuff, coaches will change up their style throughout the year. So if they haven't been so successful with a certain, style of play, keep an eye on that and read as much as you can because they can change it up too.
That's funny. I actually was going to ask you about that. The coaching tendencies. Are you taking a look at that when it comes to NBA? So that's
not as much as like the pace of play and stuff, but you got to go by like some three point stuff too. I mean, there's so much stuff that goes into handicapping totals. I'll give you an example on the 3-point, what I'm talking about. So the average 3-point attempts per team. This is the kind of stuff you have to look at when you're handicapping totals. Some teams shoot a lot more 3-pointers than others do. But what people also don't account for sometimes is the long rebounds off those missed 3-pointers. A defensive team that's rebounding really well and attempts to have like fast breaks. Like, a lot of these teams have to be taken into consideration. A lot of long missed threes, they create a lot of 2-on-1s or 3-on-2s back the other way. So they help push the totals higher. Just to show the difference in teams there, again, I'm going to do a little comparison here. Indiana Pacers averaged 27 3-point attempts per game, where the Houston Rockets averaged 44 attempts per game. So you really have to know that, and you have to know all of the teams, like I said. So I'll even go into another thing here. I know I'm going on tangents here, but
no, go right ahead.
Referees. So the ref crews aren't as important in NBA as they are in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, because we talked about that a little bit last week, right?
Right. Some refs have a tendency to call more fouls than others. So sometimes you might want to check the crews, the nose worksheets game. You can do ref stats on fouls per game and stuff. Once you're a little more experienced with that, you can come up with your own numbers when you're looking at the spread maybe, or a lot of times the home team advantages sometimes. If the fans there sometimes just get on the refs and stuff. I'm going to talk about that later on too. But so
which we don't have this year, right?
Right. This is different. This is a bubble. This is different than anything we have seen before. So always still stick with that proper money management. These games are playing, like we said, are being played without crowds. So it's a neutral setting. It's all new to everyone. No fan noise. No. I don't know if they're going to pump fan noise in like the baseball's been doing this weekend, but that'll be interesting too. We'll see.
So you were talking about the refs and whether if they tend to call more fouls than some of the other crews. Is that going to equate to a higher total or a lower total if they're calling more fouls?
Well, with the fans there and people screaming and yelling, sometimes it does. But I don't know. We're going to have to see what's going to happen this year. But it's going to be interesting. I'm really, really being on top of my game here in these first few games, especially.
Got it. And this is what you're talking about, right? The sports books don't know how it's going to play out. We don't know how it's going to play out. It's just a matter of being that educated guest that's more on the money, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So we did a whole show about live betting. So should our viewers consider doing live betting for the NBA and normally, and should they do it this season?
Live betting is something that is becoming more and more popular all the time. And again, I know I'm like keep on beating a dead horse here, keep on saying the same thing over again. But hey, for any listeners that don't know what I think about this, they're going to know now. Make sure you only bet during commercials, because the books have a big edge on you. It's a 7 to 10 second delay that they're getting their information put into their apps and the live betting portion of their app. And live, it's actually for the live portion betting. They don't have to be the app even. They even can be over the counter. They do take live bets during the commercials too. So just know that you could do it. I don't really bet live NBA too often, but I you know, listen, I may turn on the TV and watch a little live betting and see how it is. I do a lot of market capping when I do live betting too, which that means is I'll follow the sharper sports books and hopefully I can catch one of the slower sports books sleeping. You know, at a line or two. Yeah. Nice.
I see so that makes a lot of sense. And again, it keeps, I think live betting is something that we're going to see this younger generation of sports bettors that are really into that. So I love that tip. I think it's a good reminder to always keep, because I need it in my head too, only do live bets during the commercials. I got to keep it in my head that way.
Correct.
It's an important tip. So Krack, futures bet, we know how you normally feel about that, but this is, again, it's an abbreviated season. It's not an abbreviated season, it's a continuation of a season. So how do you feel about futures with this particular season?
Well, because it's not going to be a long drawn out NBA season, you might find some edges there betting some futures, but I mean, I didn't see anything for future betting in the NBA. And you know what it is too? There's so much juice, like I said, in these future wagers. There's so much house edge taking out of the pools. So this particular year, I'm more focused on what's going to be happening, what's going to be going on. I didn't do anything on futures this year, but it's just good to know, to tell the public that make sure you shop futures, because the hold is so big. So all these different sports books putting up lines. There are some differences though, especially with Circa. Circa has the lowest hold on futures.
So it seems like obviously, with this abbreviated, continuation of the season, with the favorites are going to have a lot of juice on them as far as futures are concerned. But if there could be an underdog that could sneak in there that has some good numbers on it too, right?
Well, let's look at just at the baseball this past weekend. The big teams that everyone thought was going to be, listen, it's a short little thing I'm going to say here. It's only that they only played four games, but yeah. The Dodgers, the big favorite to win it all this year in baseball, they lost 2 games to San Fran this weekend. And literally, they were 3.5 to 1 favorite, both games they lost. So, listen, a shortened season, a random small sampling, absolutely correct. Look for maybe a Cinderella team there. And when it gets more towards the playoffs, maybe you can even hedge a little bit and lock up some money. I don't really like hedging that much, but maybe you can with one of these Cinderella teams. Baseball is showing that starting out of the box here, that can happen here. So
yeah. Well, it looks like the Dodgers are a little angry about all of that. They're frustrated because of what happened today with the clash with the Astros today. So
yes, they had a little war on the field there. Almost started, physical. They got in each other's faces. Both dugouts cleared, but I'm thankful that they didn't actually start swinging at each other and keeping socially distanced argument.
Yeah, we don't need that messing up the game as well.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked a little bit about some of the differences that we're looking at this season, but what are the big differences that bettors need to be aware of?
Good question. The odds makers will be guessing more this year than ever, at the beginning anyway. So, like how does each team react to no fans? Which team playoff seedings are all set or not? After the first few games, though, some of these teams could be already eliminated or alternatively be locked into their playoff seeds. So it's going to be much different than any other season before. Also, the nightly changes every night, the lineup changes. So, will a player, are they going to play the next day, or just again, social media, reading social media, That's going to be very important on player injuries and rest updates. I mean, just look what's going on in baseball a little bit, and you can draw some parallels. Find out, get in on the COVID world stuff. What's going on? Which players, like I said, which ones are going to miss for a variety of reasons. By the way, it may just be they just want to rest up a little bit. So these announcements often won't be made till literally very close to game time. So like me and my guys, we always stay apprised of injuries and scheduling that can lead to the rest of a player or a rest of a key player. Really, that's big. So that's what we do too. I always say, let us do the work for you.
Makes it a lot easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot easier than have to do your own research. Just join me over at Krack Win. So the last thing I'm going to cover on this subject is the only thing really known, like I said before, is the unknown. More than any other sport, the NBA lines are influenced by betting habits, by two betting habits, really. A home team's previous game, that's what everyone goes by a lot of times. So the bookmakers, just like I said with the NFL, the previous game, they're going to go look at that. And also the public sometimes overvalues that a team, they may get a lift from that home crowd or something like that. So they'll look at home team a lot. That we're not going to be doing this year. So just that's some of the stuff you'll take into consideration, stuff that we take into consideration.
Got it. So, we talk a lot about the NBA and how that's been great for you, and everybody's focus is on the NBA, but the WNBA is coming back too. Do you bet on WNBA games as well?
Yes, we do. There is some good information out there. Thankfully, the WNBA started this weekend. We're up a couple of units already, sending them out to people on Krack Wins. We bet a lot of totals there too. Not so much sides. We will bet sides, but totals also. So it's a betting sport. You can bet on it. These sports books and casinos and bookmakers, they book it, believe it or not.
So take advantage of that. I think a lot of people forget about the WNBA. So
they do. So it's
glad that you
honestly, over the years, I've done fantastic on WNBA and WNBA totals. This year, I think we really have a good grip at it. So.
Oh, great. So if you're not betting WNBA out there, it's a good opportunity for you. All right, before we wrap up our strategy session here, lots of great info here for NBA, but I want to know, Krack, I know you've got lots of great gambling stories, sports betting stories from throughout your career, but I want to know, tell me about one in the NBA.
Well, good one. I'm going to give you a story here that I've never revealed on any platform or any media.
Exclusive.
Yeah, this is an exclusive. So back when Tillman Fertitta bought the Golden Nugget here in Las Vegas, then he bought other Golden Nuggets down in Mississippi and New Jersey. And he's the owner of Landry's. He's a household name now because of there's a show on him. So he invests in people's businesses and so forth. But Tillman owns Landry's Corporation, like I said, and he bought the Golden Nugget and he sent a bunch of us guys from Las Vegas back down to Houston with his private jet. So there was about 6 or 7 of us on the plane. And we're gonna fly into Houston, which we did, and we're gonna go to Miami Heat was playing Houston Rockets in Houston, and we went to dinner with Tillman. So I'm always quizzing these guys, so I'm there sitting with him, and I'm like, we're up in a luxury box, and I'm talking to Tillman, and he's like, "Listen, Krack, I got 2." By the way, Tillman calls me Krack too. So he's like, "Listen, Krack, I got 2 seats on the floor of the right on the visiting team bench. Would you like to go?" I said, "Absolutely. I'm the visiting. I want to go." So now he puts me. I'm with a friend, and my friend was like in awe. My friend was just a regular guy that flew in from New Jersey to Vegas for a weekend. I said, "Hey, you want to go? You want to take a private plane down to Houston?" I mean, it's like the only thing he talks about when it comes to Vegas. So we flew down there. My friends, he puts us on the court with the team. I kind of didn't realize what kind of an experience this was going to be. Not only are we with the team, I'm 2 seats away from Shaquille O'Neal.
I
was really on the court with the team. And, Dwayne Wade was on the team and Pat Riley running up and down right in front of him. Listen, if I stick my foot out half a foot, 3/4 of a foot, I'm tripping Pat Riley. That's where I'm at. So, so literally, here's my story, though. So now, of course, I bet on the game. And, I didn't bet a lot because it was just because I don't like to bet on games just because I'm going to them or just because I'm watching them on TV. This particular game I did bet on a little bit. So I have the referee right in front of me, and I was tormenting him like crazy. So much so that I actually did get threatened to get thrown out of the game. I was nervous because I'm like, look, Tillman's up there watching. God forbid I get thrown out. It'll be a bad thing. But I'm like, I'm just trying to sway the refs a little. Hey, listen, any advantage you can get, I'm going to take. So I'm like, ref, come on, ref, what are you doing here? Well, I mean, so I think I said something really bad. I was like, what's going on here? What's the line on this game? You must know. I said that to him. And it wasn't a good thing to say. I kind of regret it.
You were one of those guys.
Yeah, but because I got money on the game. Listen, there's the blood is on his hands here.
Hey, you say your allegiance is to your bankroll. They should know this.
It is. But just imagine if the Miami Heat knew that here you have, a guy that bets sports for a living, sitting 2 seats away from some Shaq and trying to sway, Pat Riley and the coaches and the whole referees out there. So I just thought it was kind of funny. It's good that you asked that question.
That's hilarious. So hold on. So who did you bet on? Did you bet the total? Or did
actually I bet like $200 on the home team.
So you were betting against the team that you were sitting on.
I would never be yelling at the ref, rooting for the opposing team. So here I am sitting 2 seats away from Shaq, and I'm yelling against this team. Real nice.
That's right. I've stood next to Shaq. That's a brave man that'll do that because
he's a good guy, man. I tell you, he's a good person. He was looking at a unit where I live in my building at the top, at the penthouse. There's 4 penthouses on the top floor where I live. And he was up there looking, and he came down. He took pictures with everyone, shook hands. Really nice guy, really good guy.
So you're a brave man because we talk about how big Shaq is, and we see him on TV. You hear about how big he is. We know he plays in the NBA, but when you actually stand next to him, you're just like, holy cow, dude is big. Brave. That's pretty brave of you. All right. So great NBA info there. Loved all of it. And of course, for more NBA betting info, don't forget to check out our NBA betting guide on WSN.com. Now, in the betting guide, you've got where all the legal places are in each state that offers NBA betting, and the bonuses, which we talked about on a previous podcast, and it's right there for you. So making it real easy. I know, Krack, you're a big fan of the bonuses, so it's a great way to get into NBA and do it now, because Krack says now is the time to do it because this is when you have the advantage. And then, of course, right? The advantage is now. And then you can also check out Krack's guide to basketball betting, which is up right now on crackwins.com. Also, guys, if you haven't already, sports is back. NBA is now joining the party, WNBA. So make sure you have downloaded that Crackwins app because it's available on both Apple and Google Play, and you get full access inside the world and the mind of the Krack man. And you get his weekly picks along with great betting strategies, tips, insider content. It's all there for you. So download that Crackwins app. Great segment, Krack.
Yeah, good stuff there. And, just to talk a little further about that, basketball really, like I said earlier, is a staple of building profits each year. I've been betting and winning the NBA for over 20 years. So, and really no sport really has grown in popularity in the past decade than the NBA too. So thankfully for us, my team finds edges every year in the NBA because it's a very popular sport.
Well, and it's only going to get more popular as more states allow for sports betting, right? So it's a great time to get involved. All right, so up next, we've got our guest interview, and my buddy Krack, we've got an amazing guest today. You got to catch up earlier with Jeff Benson, who is the sportsbook manager at Circa in Las Vegas, which, as you mentioned earlier, is going to be brand new, bright, shiny, beautiful, great place to go and take in the games and get your betting in. And they talked about what's going on right now in sports betting. So let's check it out.
So I'm happy to have Jeff Benson, Sportsbook Operations Manager down at the Circa, my new favorite sportsbook in town. And most people, it's their new favorite sportsbook. Jeff, I've known you for years. Thanks for joining the podcast. I really appreciate it. And I got some questions for you here. So I'm sure the viewers are going to really enjoy this because you guys are about to really jump on the scene big time here with the opening of the Circa. And Jeff, let me get those dates right. Is that October you guys are planning to open the sports book over there?
Yeah, that's correct. So we're slated to open October 28th. We'll do so with the world's largest 3-story sportsbook, the pool, the entirety of the gaming floor, and then all of the restaurants as well. And then later in the year, December 28th, we're tentatively scheduled to start with the hotel rooms. So when we do open, we won't have hotel rooms, but we'll have all of our other amenities. And we certainly look forward to having people out and enjoying what we think is going to be a great end of the year in 2020 with a lot of these sports returning.
Fantastic. And right now, just not to get any of the viewers or listeners confused, you actually are open now at the D and at the Golden Gate. So they are in business there. You can come down and join the apps, of course, ahead of time. And yeah, we're looking forward to that. So I have a couple more questions here for you. So Jeff, obviously every industry has been affected by the pandemic, some more than others. And Vegas as a whole has been hit really hard, and the sportsbook business is also part of that. What adjustments have you guys made down there, you and your team, to maintain your business? And also, how do you see the next few months playing out once the NFL returns?
Yeah, I mean, obviously for us, Derek Stevens, who's our CEO and owner, he always preaches, adapting and making changes kind of on the fly and seeing what works, So for us, obviously, when we were forced to close, our physical doors of the casino and the sportsbook in early March, we worked really hard, the guys in the risk room to continue to keep the mobile app 24/7. And then we were ultimately able to do curbside signups for not only our contests, but for our mobile application. Obviously, since here in Nevada, they don't do remote registration. So we really worked with the Gaming Control Board. We were ultimately able to offer those curbside services in the valet at the Golden Gate, and that was certainly able to drive some traction to the mobile app and maybe get some players that we wouldn't have got beforehand. So, we're certainly looking forward to the latter half of 2020. Derek said, it has the chance to be the greatest 6 months in, American sports history. And I certainly wouldn't disagree with that take. Obviously, you've got, hockey and basketball joining the party here with baseball later this week. So we're certainly excited. Hopefully that allows our over-the-counter business and app business to continue to grow. But certainly excited and looking forward to what could be a really, really great latter half of the year. Oh,
great. Sounds good. Look forward to it. I talked to you in person about this, but let's give all the viewers a chance to hear. The Circa is widely known for low hold, especially on your futures. What percentage of hold do you think on your NFL futures? Do you have that answer for us? What percentage do you hold to win a division, to win the Super Bowl? And also, I know we went into golf a little bit too. Tell me what also, like the Masters, I think you told me 10%. On futures, which is the lowest in the industry. But confirm that for me. And also the NFL futures, like I said, division, Super Bowl. Do you happen to know the whole percentage?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we placed a premium on our future books and making sure that we're offering, a fair takeout for players. So for us currently, our Super Bowl holds at 18%, and our NFL division hold is at 8%. For us, like I said, we want to make sure that players, when they're betting into markets here at Circa Sports, are doing so with a fair takeout. So, right now, I guess the most prevalent thing in terms of that would be the golf, like you mentioned. Normally on a weekly golf tournament, we'd probably open the hold on Monday at 25%. On Tuesday, we'd lower it to 22.5%. And by Wednesday, when the market's matured a little bit more, we would settle in at probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 20%. So for us, we kind of use, a cascading limit system in the sense that, when we open, our limits may be a little bit lower. And as the market kind of matures and more liquidity comes into the market, our limits will increase and subsequently our hold will decrease. So that's kind of, what our model is. Like you said, the Masters, I'm a big golf fan, so, I'm passionate about what we're doing from a golf takeout perspective. Matt Metcalf, who's our director, he's worked incredibly hard on that pool. Currently, our hold percentage on the Masters is 10%. So sometimes during the week, when some of these, bigger tournaments are being played, we might, tick up that hold as some guys are in good form. And then we try to get back to that desired hold. So for us, obviously, what's kind of conversely to other places maybe is, and for you, when you were down there, like you said, we talked a little bit about this more in depth. When somebody comes up and they place, a large wager or a limit wager, on, say, a golfer, for example, and we lower their odds, for us, the important part is to get back to that desired or targeted hold. So as we lower somebody based on, information or bets coming in, we'll proportionately raise, the rest of the field to get back to that hold percentage. So for us, that's kind of what we do in terms of our future pools. And it's certainly been well received with the people who have been betting into them. I would say post-pandemic, a lot of these golf pools are right in 2 or 3 times what they were pre-pandemic. And I think a lot of that has to do with, our hold and these price-conscious bettors searching for the best numbers.
Gotcha. Excellent answers there. I just for the viewers, so they don't realize, maybe 20% sounds like a lot to you, but I can guarantee you the sports books that I have, even me, and I do a lot of shopping online, they're much more than 20 and 25% on futures. I mean, some of them are ridiculous. Some of these sports books are offering guys in large tournaments at 6-1 or 7-1. That's ridiculous. I mean, you could talk on a tournament with 100+ players. So it's good to have you guys in the market, and competition is better for everybody. I think it's better for the other sports books too. They're still gonna, it's gonna drive a lot of people to open up different apps and get some comparison pricing. So I really appreciate what you guys do. 10% on the Masters is ridiculous. I mean,
and to touch on that a little bit further, we're one of the only places that I know of that currently does, when offering a lot of these future books, we'll offer a yes option, say on a golfer to win the tournament, and we'll also conversely offer a no option on that same golfer not to win the tournament. I think that's really important because when you do have a two-way, market, it really gets you to the number that you need to be at. And ultimately, if you take a lot of liability, on a golfer, you can't artificially move that golfer lower, because obviously then they'll just come in and bet the no side. So it really forces you to book to the number that you think is correct, and it allows patrons to bet both sides, which is something that we think is really important.
I love yes and no bets. Not many of the apps across the country, a matter of fact. Only back in New Jersey, I can think offhand of a couple apps that offer no bets. No bets are important because you could just put a yes bet on something, and you're automatically it's going to be priced in at like 30, 40, 50% house edge. When you put a no bet in there, that's impossible. So it's really good that you guys do offer the yes, no, and it's just another option that you guys have down there at Circa. So let's get into another question here. You guys are known as the sports book that books wise guys. I mean, I know me. I went in there first tournament of the year or second tournament of the year. I went up to the counter and I asked for like $1,000 on 3 different golfers futures to win at like 20-1, 30-1, 50-1. They all went through. All I had to give was my player card, of course. But so you guys, by the way, I lost them. You guys are sharper than me on those. But like I said, you're the sports book that books wise guys. So have you limited or thrown out sharp bettors like the other books, like some of the other books in town do, I should say?
No, that's not, a model that we subscribe to. For us, we place a premium on, our transparency. We talk openly about our hold percentages. We have a limit sheet in the sheet rack. For us, when we opened our doors, the idea for us was to kind of drive volume, drive liquidity. We want to take bets. So, for us, we welcome all players, whether it's recreational or sharp. And I think, between Matt Metcalf, who's our director, Chris Bennett, who's our sportsbook manager, Glenn Herzog, a lot of these guys who've been in the business a long time, with their experience and expertise, we're really able to utilize the information, from some of these sharper players, and it ultimately helps us to form our number. So, I would say, to people who are betting into our number, I think you're betting into one of the sharpest, books, in the world, in my opinion. And like I said, we want to take on all comers. We give people, fair limits. And then, for people who are looking to get down more, if they come into the counters or our sports books, or they reach out to us on Twitter, we'll try and get people down for as much as they're looking for, with respect to what we can handle. And obviously, as we add more states and more properties, I would ultimately expect, our limits to go up as our liquidity goes up.
Where are you guys now? You're in Vegas and you're in Nevada and also Colorado. Is that right?
Correct. We just opened last month in Colorado. We don't have any brick and mortar locations. It's all done entirely on the app, but certainly excited to add another state to the Circa Sports portfolio and, to continue to push forward our product and our brand.
Cool, cool. Well, from what I'm hearing, Colorado, I know some guys that went to Colorado to go open up a lot of the apps and stuff. They're really limiting people. So I don't know how successful that's going to be over there for a professional sports bettor, but it's good to have Circa in the mix there, because at least you guys will be booking some decent bets. What are your limits actually? What do you have limits on the even ballpark? You don't have to. No one's going to hold you to it. But what do you actually do on NBA, MLB? What are you guys NFL? What are you guys taking on right now? Because NBA starting here in the next couple of days. What are you going to be taking over the app on sides and totals? Do you know?
Yeah, so for us, one of the cool things that we've really done, and especially I think it makes a lot of sense given, kind of the climate we're living in right now, is that we've matched what people are able to get down at the counter specifically to the app. So when you talk about our limits, they're synonymous between counter and app, and there's no difference. So for us currently with baseball, because that's the sport, the major sport that's, in swing right now, we do $1,000 on sides, nickel on run lines and totals on overnights. And then as we get to the morning, that increases. And by 10 a.m., we'll book $5,000 a side on baseball, $2,000 a side on totals, and $3,000 on run lines. And people are more than able to bet them again if the numbers move. You can arb back on the other side. That certainly isn't something that bothers us. So like I said, we offer synonymous limits between counter and app. And then obviously with hockey and basketball coming out, I would anticipate, something kind of similar to what we do with baseball. But those haven't been finalized yet.
When I was in there opening day, there was a line of people in the morning. I figured I was going to be one of the first ones, but I wasn't. A lot of the other sharp guys were in there ahead of me. I was like 7th online, but I was still able to find some really good prices. I bet $5,000 on 3 baseball games, went right through. You guys took them, and luckily that day I did go 3-0. But so that's good to know. You guys are still at the $5,000 level on baseball, and you kind of wait a little bit till the market moves a little bit, because 8 o'clock, a lot of the sharp guys are in there betting. I mean, I see moves. I followed the screen this morning. There's stuff moving at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. So you guys are still taking 1,000 at that time, but you'll go to full limits at 10 a.m. Where you'll take 5,000. So that's
so for us, it's kind of a cascading or tier limit system. Like I said, overnights are a dime on the side, nickel on run line and total. By 7 a.m., we'll up it to 3,000 a side, dime on the total, and 2,000 on the run line. And then, like I said, once we get to 10 a.m., it's full blown limit. So for us, that's kind of how we do our limit system. Like I said, a lot of these things are bannered in the app, so you know exactly, how much you're able to get down, or you can, like I said, you can find the sheet rack. And then, if you ever need more, or you're looking for a bigger bet, you're more than welcome to come in and talk to myself,
Sure.
Matt, or try to get you down as much as possible.
Well, this is something that a sharp guy like myself doesn't really like to talk about, but I feel it's my responsibility representing WSN and representing my podcast. So, and you're on the show, I have to ask you about this. Like I said, the reason why I don't want to ask you, because I want to keep this all for myself. I admit it. The contest. Last year, you guys had the Circa Million. I should have my Circa Million hat on. I have it right in back of me on the floor. But you guys had a great guarantee. I really didn't think you were going to get there last year, so I took as many entries of that as I could. And you're going to have the same kind of contest this year. I haven't really looked into this. I've heard rumor it's actually double the prize, or maybe not double. What you're going to tell me what kind of guarantees you have on these contests this year?
Yeah, so obviously year one, we did the Circa Sports Million. We were very hopeful. Our management team and Mike Palm and Derek, we thought we put together a really good contest. The people kind of came out in droves late. And like you said, we were ultimately able to get 1,875 entries. And the contest year one was very successful. So, we took the feedback from our players, kind of went back to the drawing board, and we thought we put together an even better contest year two. So this year, it'll be the Circa Sports Million II. And like you said, the guarantees are going from 1.5 million to 3 million. So how that breaks down in terms of the prize pool, it's $1,000 to enter. you're picking 5 games against the spread every week. It's $1 million to first, $300,000 to second, $100,000 to third, and so on and so forth. We pay places 1 through 50. We're going to pay last place, which Derek wanted to call the booby prize, presuming that you make selections all 17 weeks and you finish with the least amount of points. Last place will play $100,000. And then the other really cool component that we do is quarters. So in each quarter, which will be weeks 1 through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 12, and then 13 through 17, we're going to pay the winner of each quarter $150,000. Second place will be $75,000, and then third place will be $25,000. So regardless of the number of entries we get, we're guaranteeing $3 million. For us, and being a contest player myself, and just a gambler in general, our contests have no rake, 100% payback to the players, and we're guaranteeing $3 million, for the Circa Sports Million II, regardless of the entry fee. So in terms of, a positive expected contest and value for the player, for me, I don't know why anyone else would sign up for any other contest, because, for us, I think we kind of hit a home run with our structure this year.
Wow, that's great. I mean, I look forward. How many entries can I get? How many entries per person?
Great question. For the Circa Sports Million, it's 3 entries max. And then for the Circa Survivor, which is a new contest we're offering, a traditional Survivor contest, you can have 5 entries in that. That's also $1,000 to enter. And we're guaranteeing $1 million in that as well. And
that's a Survivor contest.
Traditional Survivor contest, you pick a team to win every week. Once you've used that team, you're not able to use them again. And then Derek came up with a really cool concept, which was Thanksgiving week. So Survivor will be 18 weeks. Thanksgiving will be a standalone week by itself. And if a patron does go 18-0, they would win an additional $1 million out of our own pocket.
Yeah, I got $1 million for that too, to go 18-0. I mean, I'm willing to put up $1 million too. But I mean, that's a tough thing to do. But you know what? I watched other contests over the years. I know this isn't a new field for you guys. I have watched other contests. I've watched guys hit 85% in the first month. So if they can go, 18. And by the way, last year, just to give you an example, I've seen, or the year before, 18-2, like 6 people started out. So people won 18 out of 20. So I really shouldn't say that. I shouldn't fool around and say that. That can happen. We'll see what happens. My final question here is going to be about Derek. Derek's a sports bettor himself, so he knows what it is to bet big money at the counters. I know he's like I said, he's a really big sports bettor. Can someone, so you're telling me from what you said earlier, can someone come up to the counter and say, hey, I want 100,000 on an NFL game, and you'll probably accommodate them, especially if they give you enough time to work with it, you'll probably accommodate a bet like that. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, for us, obviously, we try to provide, an outlet for people to get down what they're looking for. So like I said, sometimes if people have wagers, over what our standard limit is, and we're able to accommodate them, we'll do so. Working for a CEO and an owner in Derek, a guy who understands the business, a guy who's a gambler himself, he allows, our management team to have a lot of autonomy to make these decisions, where you might see at a lot of other corporations. The people up top don't necessarily understand gambling. They don't necessarily understand sports betting. So, whether we're winning, on a certain day or losing on a certain day, he's a guy who kind of respects the process more than the outcomes. And he's a guy who just understands gambling in general. So to be able to have, his knowledge and expertise and kind of really lean on him has certainly helped us, I think, to be a lot more successful.
I'm looking forward to this season and you guys, having a big foothold in this market. I'm actually going to bring Derek on. I'm going to ask him to see. I'm sure he'll come on for me. I'm friends with him for a long time. I'm going to bring him on maybe like the week before the NFL to pump up the contest and pump up the business, but I really appreciate you taking your time. You guys are great. And Jeff, you've come a long way, man. Congratulations, and good things going on down there. Thanks for joining the podcast today.
Appreciate it, Bill. Certainly enjoy the kind words, and certainly known you since I've started in the industry, and like I said, just appreciate that relationship.
Well, great interview. Good job there, Krack. I'm proud of you.
Excellent. Yeah, he's a great guest. He's a great guest to have on. Nice to have the sharpest sports book in town being represented here on the WSN show.
Yeah, I'm excited. I need to come to Vegas and see some of these new sports books. I'm excited.
Let me know when you're coming out here, because we're going to film right at the Westgate. Jay Cornday gave us
that'll
really
be
open reign there, so that'll be great. So football season or stuff, it'll be fun.
Yeah, I need to go watch some NFL games there too.
Oh yeah.
They have new TVs. All right, so let's get into our pick of the week. I know everybody out there has been waiting throughout the show today to get your pick this week, because it's an NBA pick, right, Krack?
Yes. You know, I hate giving out picks, one or two picks, even when I'm in the sports book, when the fans are asking, people coming by, oh, come on, Krack, give us some games. This happens all the time if I'm walking through a Vegas sports book, but especially in New Jersey, when I'm walking through like the Borgata or one of the sports books in Jersey. I big fan base out there. They love betting. It's like instilled in their blood. They need action. So listen, like I said, I don't mind giving out a free pick or two, but let's not forget, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So my career has been built giving out games, of course, but over the course of a season. So give you a perfect example of that. I was in the Bahamas at Baha Mar, which is a beautiful resort. I have a great connection down there. And these guys in the sports book said, hey, can you come meet my buddy? He loves, you're on action on Showtime. They want to meet you. So kind of hesitant, but I went in there, and sure enough, this guy's got like 200,000 on the table in front of him. I mean, this was a giant, they get some giant action down there. Yeah. So he's like, oh my God, nice to meet you. I got a picture of this and that. And now he says to me, he gives me an offer that I almost couldn't refuse, but I did refuse it. He's like, listen, he takes a stack of chips, literally 50 grand. He's like, listen, let's go bet some games in the sports book. He said, I'll cut you in. If we win, we'll win. If we win, we'll split them up. If we lose, don't worry about the money. And most people, especially the snake oil salesmen or the charlatans on Twitter that sell games that no one knows, that are selling games under anonymity and fake names, they would have jumped at this. They would have jumped on this offer to do this. I just don't think it was right it's a small sampling. What am I going to bet on 5 or 6 games or 8 games? And plus, I don't want to have, if I lose for the weekend, these guys being upset or maybe getting mad at me or something. I just would rather, let me give you you can subscribe to my service, Krack Wins, get all the plays, and over the season, you're going to get the money. That's it. So it happened to me down there when I was in Baha Mar recently, but that has happened to me multiple times for multiple amounts of money. So let's get into the play. Going to be the Lakers-Clippers game. Listen, it's opening night of the season. I guarantee this is going to be one of the most watched games of this NBA season, of course, but maybe even going back in history, one of the most watched games ever this will be. People are dying for action, NBA action. This is the two best teams in the West. I lean to the over 216 here, and lots of veterans, fast-paced teams. They should be confident going to the hoop here. So I think we're going to have a small play, just a lean right now, because it's the day before. I want to make sure the lineups are okay. I want to read a little bit more. I want to know that, I want to know LeBron's playing, how many minutes, if I can find out. But right now, so at filming time right now, I do like this as a play on the over.
All right, so that's the pick. You think it's going to be a high-scoring game because they're just going to come out of the gate shooting, running, and gunning, because they've been aching to play as much as we've been aching for them to play, right?
I hope you're right. Yes.
So, all right. So anything else? I know that we're all about NBA right now. Anything else you got your eye on this week that people should be taking a look at?
Yeah, just trying to get a grasp right now. Really, again, I want to know what these key players like LeBron and others too. I just use him because he's the marquee name. I want to know what their playing time is going to be. I'm hoping I can find something out on social media tomorrow. Hoping my team can find something out.
All right, yeah. Make sure you're following Krack on Twitter at Bill Krackman, and then of course, if you have the Krack Wins app, then you're following all that as well. All right, let's get into our Twitter questions this week. I love this. I love hearing from you guys. We're getting lots of great tweets from you guys about how much you love the show. We really appreciate that, and we love bringing it to you, right, Krack?
Yes. Oh no, we are. I have a really good Twitter following, and let me tell you, I noticed you are getting a good Twitter following too. People are really responding well. and love the show. And that's what we do at WSN here. We present a really quality show, and we're proud of it. And we hope that the viewers and listeners and our Twitter followers, pick up as time goes on, because they like the information they're hearing. I'm giving out great information every week. I'm bringing on some unbelievable guests. So it's great for us. It's great for WSN, and we look forward to keep doing it.
Yeah, love it, and love having the conversation with you guys out there. So let's talk about some of these questions. Now, of course, if you guys have questions out there for next week, make sure that you tweet us at WSN Sports, at Rosalie Michaels, or at Bill Krackomberger, and we will do our best to answer them. Don't forget to hashtag Wisecracks to make sure that we see them. All right, let's get into it. All right, first question of the day. Jake Wins Bets asks, were you surprised at all over the weekend at how many big MLB dogs cashed?
Well, listen, after the first day, I guess I was a little surprised. The first day, I think the favorites went 2-12. I'm sorry, the favorites went 12-2. So it was all favorites the first day. It actually scared us as a group too. It was like, wow, all these favorites are coming in, these big favorites. Well, that didn't happen on Saturday, as a lot of the dogs were cashing a good amount. And then on Sunday, it was almost a vanilla across the board, all dogs, big dogs too. I'm talking about San Fran plus 320. I think Seattle was in there plus like that. Kansas City, Colorado, Detroit. It was all nothing but dogs. The bookmakers got all the money back that they lost on Friday. They got it back on Sunday. So I'm not so surprised. And I know personally, the sides that I do bet, I won't be betting too many favorites this year. So good question. And there's your answer.
Got it. So it goes back to that whole thing about, it's a new kind of environment here, new season, good to play the underdogs where there's just not as much knowledge about how these teams are going to play out.
Well, especially now, yeah. This is, normally I do play baseball underdogs primarily anyway, 70% of the time. I may even be a bigger percent this year because of the 60-day season, the 60-game season, I should say. So I think dogs are the way to go. So, all right, let's get to our next question.
Well, that's good. That's good. This kind of ties right into this next one. So Ryan G0712, he says, can't play this MLB, new rules, pitchers on the silent pitch counts, players getting sick. He says it's not worth it because there's no normalcy. Now, Krack, do you agree with that?
Unfortunately, Ryan, thanks for the question, but I don't agree. I think that, especially following someone like me, again, shameless plug, which I normally don't do for Krack Wins and myself. When you have someone that's reading, I have a guy that I pay that just reads. All he does is read social media, the teams, the beat reporters, articles and social medias. So I have to tell you, I don't kind of agree with that. I think that when you have a grasp on the market, granted, this year is much different. I agree with that part, Ryan, absolutely. But I think that from my perspective, staying on top of it and having that time, a lot of the guys, listen, you guys, I understand you work 9 to 5, you work, 40, 50 hours a week. You don't have the time to put into the research like that. So my team does. So I have to say no. I have to say that I think it's going to be good at the end of the season.
Yeah, research is key. I know that from the fantasy football world. I say the same thing. You guys don't have time to do the research. I'm doing it for you. So same thing with you, Krack, when it comes to sports betting. Love that. Cool. All right. So next question comes from PixLab Inc. VIP. He says, with NFL players beginning to opt out, which we're seeing a good amount of, how is this affecting your betting of season win totals?
Well, it's a good question because, I think it's 9 players now opted out. And I can imagine what Belichick must be going through up there, but he's always got something up.
6 from the Patriots opted out.
Right. I can imagine what he's going through. He's always got something up his sleeve, Belichick. So either it's cheating with cameras or whatever it may be. He's always got something up there's a little shot at New England. But anyway, it's interesting. Future wagering, I really have to tell you, I really don't see, wasting your money and tying it up. Who knows if we're even going to get a full season in? You're tying up your money for a pretty long time to begin with. I really don't like too many future wagers, even though I did talk about on an earlier show, the team, Buffalo Bills, I did give out. However, I don't think I'm going to bet another future. Maybe one more. I do have an NFL guy I refer to a lot. So, we have our own, we're doing our own in-house NFL, but we have another guy, an outside source that we look at a little bit too. So hopefully we come up with one more if it's good, but I don't see us coming up with any, don't tie up any serious money on futures. No.
Yeah, it's interesting because that Bills pick is actually really looking good. Now, again, we just mentioned that there's a number of Patriots that have opted out of the season, including some pretty big guys on their defense, including Dante Hightower and Patrick Chung. And so, their defense was huge last year in helping them to make the playoffs. They're not going to have that. So that Bills pick's looking pretty good. Although I just said, Belichick, you never know. He could be maneuvering a bunch of this. You just never can count out Belichick. Yep. Okay, so last question for this week, and I have one for you too, Krack, after this one. But Truth Johnson says, for this MLB season, some books are using listed pitchers still, and some everything is action. Which do you think should be the rule this year, and why? Interesting question.
Great question, because I even thought that it was going to be almost every single sports book using action as a betting tool. In other words, if you bet with us, it's action only. Not the case. I've actually found where some books are listing pitchers. So you have to check, make sure you check with the rules of your sports book for listed pitchers or not. It's already been a conflict because we've had so many, since we were on last week, we've had so many situations where listed pitchers have been scratched already, starting with the first night when Kershaw was scratched. So that's like the key pitcher in baseball. A couple hours before the game, they put him on injury reserve. So make sure you check the rules of your sports book. Personally, I like listed pitchers. We do our handicapping based on listed pitchers. So I usually only want listed pitchers. But contrarily, that's why you get a little bit more of an edge by betting dogs, because, if you're betting based on a good pitcher, well, then maybe if he does get scratched, then you'll get a better line. You'll get a better you have a better line than the actual closing line will be with the new pitcher. So, but I would rather have listed pitchers.
Yeah. So there could be some opportunity there, but yeah, the listed pitchers is where you are focusing your attention. All right. So I actually have a question, because news just came out yesterday that's big for me. And I know it's big for Vegas as well. CES, which is the Consumer Electronics Show, is going all digital, all mobile this year. There's not going to be a live CES. I'm a trade show presenter as well. So I work for Panasonic at CES each year. So 250,000 people, that's 250,000 people that normally come into Vegas during NFL playoff seasons. What does this mean for the sports books there in Vegas, the fact that these big shows are being shut down?
Well, that was a shock to everyone. That convention is not till January, and here we are in July, and they were canceling already. Yeah. So it's a big blow for Vegas. It's a big blow for the economy here in Vegas. I mean, you're talking these conventions canceling. This is hundreds of millions of dollars. So, yeah. However, I seem optimistic. I don't want to seem like doom and gloom. I'm looking at the brighter picture here. The weekends are packed here in Vegas. They have been. So we've become a weekend town, like Atlantic City depends on their weekends to make money. Same thing here in Vegas. So, but I see that the drive-in traffic's been big, and we have great rules here now, social distancing rules. These casinos are really every single casino is requiring a mask now, which they should have done in the beginning. I'll be honest with you. They should have set this up a different way. So now they're all requiring masks. They're having some social distancing measures that have been put in place. And I hope that trend continues. And trying to look at this from a positivity point, but however, that the conventions make up, 50% of our revenue. Well, I shouldn't say conventions. It's the non-gaming revenue is made up of a lot of different things. People that come in town just to have a good time and party and pay for everything. And then conventions is a big part of that. So it is unfortunate, but what are we going to do? It's the new 2020. It's, this year has kind of been a mess. So if we can wipe that 2020 off the map and start up again in 2021, I think this with success, I think the casinos and everyone will be happy.
Yeah, I agree with you. We got to just keep moving forward and doing what it takes to get ourselves back to some semblance of normalcy. And that's what I'm looking forward to as well, Krack. Well, that was a great NBA show today. We talked about a lot of different things, had a great guest. I want to thank you, Krack, for all of your great information. And of course, thank you to the audience out there that you guys keep coming back to us, and we love giving you the information. I want to remind you guys to subscribe to WSN on YouTube to make sure you don't miss next week's episode. And you can also go back and see all our previous episodes if you've missed those. And then, of course, each week we will do our strategy deep dive, another special guest, more picks and plays from the Krack Man, which we love and appreciate. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Rosalie Michaels, at WSN Sports, and at Bill Krackman, the man.
And let me further say, again, this morning, again, I was over at our site, WSN. Make sure to go over there and read them. Mm-hmm. There's some really good articles, but not only that, read those bonuses that they're dangling there. Those, I always say, those juicy carrots. It's amazing. Yeah. I don't know another site that has that. Every single site, I mean, that I look at, nobody has what we have at WSN that I see, where it shows you each state, each bonus that you're going to get with one click of the button. So definitely check us out. And don't forget to follow me over at Krack Wins, where I write some unique articles every week. We have our picks and plays. And looking forward to see you guys next week.
Yeah, absolutely. See you next week, everybody.